Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I've had quite a few people ask me about things like this, and I think this is an important topic to cover since I originally kind of brought up peptides here, and a lot of people have really been curious about them. Now, one of the questions that I'm getting is, what are the best peptides for injury healing, injury prevention, things like that? I'm going to focus more on injury healing and injury recovery in this one, and I want to remind the audience and anyone from YouTube out there who is listening, the peptides I am discussing are legal for possession in most of the countries that my subscribers are in, including the country I live in. They are legal in the United States currently, Canada, and the United Kingdom, which are my three largest audience. Now, you're going to find for injury prevention, any of the peptides may help in theory because all of them are either some sort of direct IGF-1 variant or are IGF-1, or they stimulate HGH production and in turn stimulate IGF-1 production. Now, as far as that goes, like the MOD-GRF actually produces very, very little, if any, additional IGF-1 despite the HGH production, so your GHRPs are the big hitters there. Even though I recommend combining a GHRP with something like MOD-GRF. But any of the GHRPs are going to give you that boost in HGH. But in particular, things like any of the IGF-1s are going to potentially increase hypertrophy of connective tissue, so they're going to be potentially beneficial. Now, as far as actual muscle pulls, that's your biggest injury, is major muscle pulls or trauma to a muscle. Now, the one that I've personally found useful for this, I know a lot of athletes are doing this, I know coaches who tell me the same thing, is going to be mechanogrowth factor, or MGF. And this was advised to me a while back by a coach friend of mine because I happened to have some on hand. And I pulled my hamstring really bad deadlifting to the point to where I couldn't walk. Like, I could walk, but I had to hobble around. I couldn't put load on my foot. And it was like that most of the day. So I went ahead and I penned 200 micrograms of mechanogrowth factor in it. I did it again the next morning, and then again about 12 hours later, directly into the hamstring, right at the point to where it hurt the worst. And I noticed that for me, that was a major pull. It would have taken me at least a week of recovery before I could do any lower body work again with that pull. 48 hours after I pulled it, I went back in and I did some rep work with 220 kilos on the deadlift. Now keep in mind, 48 hours before that, I was hobbling around and couldn't walk. The next day, it actually hurt most of the day, and then the pain had subsided completely and I could walk again about 2 hours after that third pen of the mechanogrowth factor. And I think that in my experience, any of the IGF-1 subtypes of peptides, but particularly the mechanogrowth factor, seem to be very, very helpful for direct soft tissue trauma and recovery and rapidly increasing it. I had an injury that would have taken me 1 to 2 weeks to recover from, and 48 hours later I was able to pull with moderate intensity again and zero pain. And so that's the interesting thing of, even though mechanogrowth factor has been banned by WADA, now that it's banned by WADA, it's going to be a hassle on researchers who want to use it and study injury recovery for athletes, because WADA has banned it, and so therefore scientists promoting it for that is going to be political pressure put on them not to promote it for that, even and to actually study it closer, even though we know in the real world it works very, very, very well. And there's no way I should have recovered that quickly when I did that. And I've heard the other thing from every single athlete I know who's done this. And of coaches who are working with their athletes, they've reported that it works like a miracle. And the other thing I want to point out and remind you guys, that a lot of your athletes out there, you need to remember, if no natural bodybuilding feds have banned a substance, even if WADA has, it is still considered natural. You guys are natural bodybuilders if you use it. And you need to keep in mind with something like this for recovering from an injury, I think anyone who is a serious athlete or who trains hard needs to have probably a bottle of mechanogrowth factor in their freezer, if it is legal in your country, out of the 3 countries I listed. And purely for injury prevention, and people who are worried about drug testing, it doesn't matter. If you have an injury, it doesn't matter if you care about the integrity of your sport, and even if it's banned, they can't test for it. There is no test for it. WADA has admitted they can't test for it. They don't even know if they can develop a test for it. And this is something that's going to increase recovery and healing time from an injury tenfold. So that being said, any athlete who's ever at risk of a major muscle pull who doesn't keep MGF on hand at this point, with the results people are getting from it, you're just being foolish at that point, because there's no drug test for it. There's no chance anyone's going to get caught. And the benefits just to healing a major injury that's going to cause you pain in your personal life, it's going to impede your ability to perform in your sport if you get a major one, is just silly to not fix the problem when the tools are available. But that's just my take on it. I mean, people are free to do what they want. That's just my opinion. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh.